We would now like to open the floor to all of us, to all of you, for questions. Please, you could go ahead and ask questions to any of the distinguished speakers. Yes, please. Yes, Mr. Dahl.
I would like to ask Willy how he can fulfill nowadays, on one hand, to have a, let me say, outstanding business organization, then on the other hand, fulfill all the expectations he said a club should fulfill besides being successful and earning money. Okay. How do you think this can be handled in the future? Because more and more the professional clubs becoming like profit center, and how can we balance it on one hand, the outstanding success, on the other hand, to keep the responsibility for the society, even you have other sports in a club. How you can handle it?
Yeah, Christoph, this is a big challenge, and you will not be successful if you just have to do it alone. But just what Mr. Häusler told us about their goals, how to lead the club, for example, with the special thing, yeah, why are we doing so as we are doing? This is very important, and we come together, we have to come together, all, not only the UN, not all the media, everybody has to stay together. Right now we see, and all who love football will agree, we have a new development in England. They put so much money to the clubs that it's unbelievable, and Bayern Munich, with them I always fight 30 years ago, about not the balance in financing the clubs, say, oh, we are disadvantaged and we need more money. This is very crazy for me, because I always said this 30 years ago, that there must be a balance, and it must be very clear, and also in a professional system like FIFA and IOC and others. It must be sure what is the goal of a sports club, what is the goal of a federation, a national or international federation. If it's only to have more money, to spend more money, it will not become better. This is I'm deeply convinced about this. But how, Christoph, can we manage it? We can just manage, we are not a ruling body here. We are just experts from different parts of the world. And we have our own expectations, hopes, and suggestions. And if we discuss this and find the right path for a better equalized way of reaching or achieving our goals. But maybe that somebody said, oh, no, this is not the goal of my club. I want to be the number one in the world, and I don't care about other clubs in our league. Then it's their way. But it's not my way, and definitely not the way how we are thinking in the UN. We want a better sport, a better world, and it's unbelievable. We are talking about sports. Right now we have, I think, more than 60 military conflicts in the world. You mentioned it, I think, 64 million refugees. And it was wonderful to see the refugee team, but it's only a small symbol. The fact is that we still have a lot of problems of including them, of integrating them in different countries. I'm very near to the issues in many, many countries, and it's not so easy. It was a warm applause in Rio de Janeiro, on both things, in Olympic Games and in Paralympic Games, where this was a top story. And it was wonderful, but it's just a symbol. And it should motivate all of us to do our own thing, to promote this, to go to the clubs and go to the refugees and make it happen, that it really happened. Because when we are talking about integration through sport, it is absolutely correct and right. But look to the clubs in which cases it really then finally happened. First of all, language, culture, and all these things are very, very difficult to deal. And I really believe, Christoph, if we stay together, partner, communicate, and try to convince, for example, FIFA about their transparency, if we would only get this, it's a tremendous success if we have transparency, that we know where money goes in professional football. I don't know how it's in other leagues, but we in Germany, we paid last season 127 millions of euros, not to support refugee camps or something like that. We paid them for the agents who work in professional football, only in the Bundesliga. 127 millions for agents. Who the hell is going to the clubs to see and to applaud the agents? We are going to the pitches to see wonderful football matches. We want to see superstars. We like to see good matches, and they must be exciting and not what we have seen in different matches the last week or still this week, where we have a 6-0, 5-0, 7-0, something like that. Nobody wants to see this. And this will be a problem for the future. It is not sure that we will achieve, but if we try, and everybody tried something, we could achieve.
Thank you, Mr. Lemke. More question? You could raise the hand and the microphone will come to you as we are on live stream. Everybody would like to hear the question. Who's next? Please. Yes? The lady up there. And who's the next question? You could already raise the hand, so the microphone is ready after that. Yes, please.
Professor McLaren, you said something about the impact mega events have when they come to certain countries like Qatar regarding the work conditions, or as we saw the Olympic Games with the favelas. I just wonder, I think they get a great attention from the media for a certain time, and when the event is over, everything is forgotten. And I wonder, shouldn't you give the games countries they do something before, or they promise to do better conditions for favelas or things like that?
Thank you. Is this question addressed to anybody in particular or to the panel?
I think Professor McLaren said something about this.
Okay. Professor, would you like to, and then others could pitch in?
Sure. I'm not precisely clear as to your question, but what I was suggesting in my remarks is that there be a review of major events 2 years and 1 year prior to the event to make sure that everything that's been stated that will be done is being done, whether that relates to environmental issues, housing issues, the destruction of parts of a particular city so that venues can be developed and so forth. And then there probably also needs to be a follow-up after the Games, because if you look at the different Olympic sites in the last Winter and Summer Olympic Games, after the events are over, most of the sites are never used again. And Athens is a wonderful example of that. I think there were 31 different sites, and 29 of them are completely inoperative now and not available to be used. And similar, not so severe, consequences have occurred in other Olympic events. So we need to focus more on accomplishing what were the reasons for selecting that particular venue and what they said they could do and would do, and did they do it, and then the use of the venue afterwards. My colleagues, I'm sure, have other comments.
Anybody else from the panel?
I may jump in.
Yes, please. Mr. Dassler.
When we had all the experiences with the World Cup in Brazil or the Olympics in Rio, for example, as a quite simple business consideration, neither FIFA nor IOC knew that we have to pay $14 for every imported pair of shoes into this country. Of course, the sustainability issues had been much worse in this regard. So we entered into a dialogue, especially with IOC and together with Dr. Bach. So his agenda 2020 is reflecting what the effort will be. It's a better diligence in sorting out what kind of candidate cities should be chosen. And we just signed a contract with IOC, understanding of cooperation, which then will consult us as the industry to find out what's the best site to take. We hadn't been part of the Qatar decision, but hopefully next time this will be improved.
Thank you. Yes, Joe.
Yeah. I think it's a very good question how we deal with mega sports events when they are over. Is then everything forgotten and nobody cares anymore? That was your good question. And yesterday there was the idea that such mega events should have a corporate governance report in a way. Call it like this, let's say from the beginning till the follow-up. And then, of course, is it possible to have a monitoring group? Willy Lemke was saying that you need an independent body somehow to follow. And that is something we have to reflect on to make it better. From the preparation to, of course, the running of the games and events, but then as well to the follow-up, how it is profitable and useful for the city and the region where these events happen.
Thank you. I think there's a question here, Mr. Adjeko, and the next one would be over here. Yes, please. The microphone can come here. Oh, it's there. Fine. Please.
My name is Federico Adjeki. I'm the head of sustainability and diversity at FIFA, and I have a little bit of a small complaint or linked with a 20-cent contribution and a question for the panel. I'm a bit surprised to see only men in this opening panel, despite the high quality of the representatives that are joining us today. And I link very much as well the fact that all the ethical problems that sport has had in the past were mainly linked to men as well, and leadership as well. So perhaps one of the this 20-cent contribution would be that of considering the role of women in sports in order to tackle ethical problems and to improve the leadership in our sports. And at the same time, the question to the panel would be, how do you see the role that women should be playing in this very important question that we have in front of us today? Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, that goes to the organizer. We take that, and we have also a different vision. We will definitely take that as a very important consideration. We are happy to have a female president who is leading us very skillfully. And yes, next time we hope. But it is true that amongst the officials still, there is a predominantly male, and that also reflects in the agenda, although we had taking the strategic decision to really wanting to balance this, and you will see a good balance, hopefully overall, throughout the day. But I also would like to invite comments from the panel.
In my preparations for today, I read somewhere, I don't remember exactly where, but the sport suffers from the fact that it's male, stale, and frail. There is a serious need for more female participation at the highest levels of governance in sporting organizations. Business is also struggling with that same issue in terms of a female representation on the boards of directors of particularly public corporations, but other organizations as well. And sport is even further behind than business in trying to develop that and deal with that. But one point I'd like to point out to you is I'm a member of the Court of Arbitration for Sport. I've been a number of times to the Olympic Games as a member of the ad hoc division. I was not a member of the ad hoc division at Rio because I'm currently involved in an investigation. But one of the things that the Court of Arbitration for Sport has done, apropos your question and point, is there was equal participation of arbitrators on the ad hoc division in Rio, male and female, and as I understand it, that's the intention of CAS going forward, to do that and to raise the number of female arbitrators in the system. So there are parts of sport looking at trying to make a change, but it's slow in coming.
Anybody else dares to speak?
I took a look at the agenda of today, and I think this is the only panel, other than another one, consisting out of just male guys.
Correct.
So it's not as bad as it may look. And also to give you some comfort, at least for my part, my department, which is 300 people taking care of legal compliance, sustainability, they consist of 55% women, and my designated successors are all women. So there's more things come, so don't worry.
Yes, please, Mr.
I think it's a very good input. My experience is that actually some in this male business football, macho business football, I think the female thinking is extremely important. My president before me was a woman in our club, and we have a CEO. She is now, since 25 years in the club, she started as the only employee in the club. Now she's CEO, and she's working closely with me. Our media director is a woman. And it's interesting to see how women react on things that for us men are normal. And it's completely different. They have a completely different approach to it. And I think we should actually challenge ourselves always with this different view of the other genders. There is a difference. We cannot change it. And I think it's something which we should use in a fruitful way. As a club, we don't have one woman on the board, which is maybe a bit a shame, but it's the truth.
Yeah, thank you. And I think Mr. Lemke?
Only coming back to the last question, I just want to add that not all the big mega events went not so well. I just want to mention 1972, and some of us were really personally involved, me too. This was a tremendous sustainable development for Munich, without any question. It was booming like that, and everybody in Germany will tell you the same. And secondly, the World Cup 2006 in Germany was a huge success, and it was a sustainable success, because look at all the wonderful stadiums that we right now have and compare it with other countries where they didn't have a World Cup. So this it's not only running bad, there are also very positive examples. But just to add about the questions including women, we had organized 4 years ago youth leadership camp. Because I've seen so many wonderful youth living under very, very poor conditions in disadvantaged areas and townships, slums, refugee camps. And I myself saw many of them. And then we decided to make a youth leadership program, not for the elite one, for the grassroots people who work for the children in these neighborhoods. And when I started this, I had the problem getting more and more women or girls in this program. And I was told by UN officials it's not possible to get a gender-balanced equality in this field because, for example, Muslim girls will not be allowed, and girls are not so much interested in sports. And then I said, I totally have to disagree in that. And we found a very easy way to change this. We are working together with sport NGOs, sport projects around the world, and I offered them to send for application, their best youth working in the field of sport. But we only allow them to send always one man, one woman. And then we have our criteria, very open, very transparent. And then we decided who is most qualified. And the result is that we have 55% female and only 45% male participants in this UN Youth Leadership Program. A very good example how to deal with that problem.
Wonderful. And let's maybe take the opportunity to acknowledge the many women who have who are doing outstanding work in the field of sports, which are present in this hall and out there. I would like to mention Ms. Aisha Johansson. She is the only acting president of a national federation in soccer. Let's give her a big round of applause. She will be speaking in the afternoon keynote discussion. I would also like to mention Ms. Neumann, who had been the first moderator to moderate a soccer championship game at the Euro of Germany. Let's welcome her as well. And a big round of applause to all the women in this hall, please. Good. A last question and then we'll conclude. Yes, please. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Sandro Giuliani, Jacobs Foundation. I just wanted to pick up the topic that Willy Lemke mentioned, saying that there are other issues around in the world than unethical behavior in sport. And we have the Sustainable Development Goals that were last year signed by all countries, and all of us have a responsibility in contributing to achieving them. So my question would be, how do you see the role of sport clubs, of sport federation, of the sport industry also contributing to the bigger development goals we have in our societies and in our countries.
Who would like to answer?
Yeah, I think from the very beginning, President Rachita Kulkarni and others told us how important sports is for the individual, but as well for solidarity, for the feeling together, I think for society. And no doubt, when I asked my father, he was born 1904, I said, what sports did you do? And he was a worker. So and I discovered that he didn't know sports because he had to work 6 days a week, so he didn't have a chance for sport. But in modern world, sport is shaping our public life, parts of other, of course, elements. And I think, therefore, we all have responsibility to give it a good direction because it can develop a society. We are all sitting, in our construction of human beings. Sitting was not foreseen. We come from the savannah. We have been moving. And today we are all sitting. And Pokemon is then let's say, the extreme of doing sports sitting. And therefore, I think for the health, for the spirit, for the development of the individual, as well of collective bodies, sports is so important. I think that is what we share.
Thanks, Joe. I think these are some very befitting words to close this inaugural panel.